Good evening. I'd like to call to order the special meeting for the Planning Commission for April 12th, 2013. If we get a roll call, please.
Commissioner Fonda Bernardi.
Here.
Commissioner Fresco.
Here.
Commissioner Lambert.
Here.
Commissioner Landris.
Here.
Vice Chair Raskin.
Here.
Commissioner Tolkien.
Here.
Chairperson Reese.
Here. And if we get a Pledge of Allegiance, I will lead the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Well, I did that a little backwards because I think the Pledge of Allegiance was supposed to come before the roll call, but we've done a roll call. We're all here. At this point, I'd like to move to item number 4 and the Planning Director's report, please.
Good evening, Commission. Upcoming at your next meeting on April 19th, we will have the Livable Communities Initiative presentation and discussion. We will also have a conditional use permit application for a expansion of an existing childhood education facility at 1727 Ocean Park Boulevard. And then we will also present a kind of unusual, I think first of its kind, a cancellation of a development agreement. This is for the ArcLight Theater space at Santa Monica Place. So they have a new tenant going in there, and the existing development agreement places some conditions on the space that really don't make sense with the new tenant. So they're requesting to cancel the DA. And then also that night, it's an opportunity for the Planning Commission to make budget recommendations to City Council. There are a couple of positions that we've requested in the biennial budget. So at that meeting, I can explain those to you and hopefully get the Commission's support for those. The May 3rd meeting is canceled. May 17th, a development review permit, conditional use permit, and map for a existing office property at 3402 Pico Boulevard. This is the old Grammys building at the Pico and the freeway. And then a development review permit for a project at 2501 Wilshire Boulevard. And let's see, recent City Council actions, March 21st, the Council adopted the housing element implementation on first reading. And then last night, April 11th, there was the use of outdoor space on private property ordinance second reading adoption, and then also the housing element implementation second reading. So those two ordinances will now go into effect 30 days after last night. Upcoming at City Council, April 25th, whoops, screen just went dark, sorry. Adoption of resolution declaring surplus properties for two properties. One is fire station, the old fire station number 1 on 7th Street. And then also the City TV building on 19th Street between Colorado and Olympic. Adoption of a gender-neutral restroom ordinance, and then the extension of the fast food ordinance for the 3rd Street Promenade that the council approved about a month ago. May 9th is a ordinance clarifying permit requirements for wireless facilities. It's actually the item you're discussing tonight. Home share regulations ordinance. This was a temporary ordinance that's being extended. And then on that night, the council will consider the Santa Monica Place DA determination that you'll be considering. And then on May 23rd will be the City Council's budget study session for the biennial budget 23 through 25. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Landris.
Yeah, I just, thank you, David. I wanted to find out for the next week's Livable Communities Initiative presentation and discussion, it would just be super helpful for us to understand from staff, when we hear from them, what's actually realistically actionable and under what buckets, thinking about the old bucket system or whatever it is, because my familiarity with livable communities in Los Angeles is such that a lot of what they were requesting in LA, we've done in slightly different forms already.
Right.
So it'd be really helpful, no matter what they present, to hear, you know, where we should focus our questions and discussion.
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
Thank you.
And yeah, like you said, I think some of the things have already been done or pretty close. There are some other things that I know about that are more building code related, and there's some questions whether or not, you know, we can do that as a city, or if it would have to come at a state level. So, yeah, we'll see.
I have a related question, actually. Apparently council members, Wick has asked that staff prepare development standards per the Livable Communities model. Was that the full council direction, or was that just his idea? Or do you know what I'm talking about?
I'm not sure. I don't recall it as a 16 item.
In his newsletter, he said that he was proposing, maybe he hasn't done it yet, but that he wanted development standards. And it's going to be a great deal more than development standards if the livable communities thing is actually going to be a go. Does that ring a bell?
The council on March 21st did give direction to staff to, the council did have a range of discussion about what we're going to call the LCI initiative. My understanding of the direction, and I did transcribe it at the time in the notes, but that it is a step one approach is one to meet with them and to explore and I would say review what their platform is, what their core initiatives are. I think there's homework for us to do once we learn more about it, to then evaluate our approach to development standards for housing on the boulevards in the neighborhood commercial, that kind of thing, and see where there's overlap, what recommendations. I think there's some work for us to
Okay.
do.
So it's
I
real
don't believe the
premature to be
direction
doing-
was unilateral for us to start to prepare
Right, of
standards.
course,
It was a meet and evaluate.
He made it sound like it was maybe farther along than it really is, but
I think it gets to the point about, you know, what is really within our authority to
Exactly,
change. And
right.
so, I mean, I think looking at all of that is kind of the direction.
the other question I have, so they did the second reading of the zoning amendments last night, right?
Yes,
When are they going to be finally adopted?
in 30 days. So
Okay.
it goes first reading, second reading, then the ordinance becomes effective 30 days later.
It's my understanding, I've heard through the grapevine, that Councilmember Brock proposed an 11,000 square foot lot consolidation limit for housing on Main Street only. The others would be 15,000. That is not compatible with the housing element. Did anyone point that out to him?
I know there was discussion about that and question about whether or not that would be a issue for HCD.
The housing element's pretty clear. It only addresses Main Street, and it's 6,000 square feet for commercial and 15,000 square feet for residential. So if you say 11,000, right?
So I think, first of all, this is not on your agenda, so I just want to make that clear.
Well, it's the director's
Having a
report.
discussion, understood, but having a discussion about, I just want to make sure that we don't travel into discussion territory. To be clear, the council did take that action on March 21. We will have to go back and confirm, but I am not sure what you're referring to in terms of language in the housing element itself with respect to lot consolidation.
It may have been in the
We're talking
ZO.
about, right, which is different, right?
Right,
So
right.
I'm not sure that level of detail is actually.
You may be right. It may be the ZO that I'm thinking
Exactly.
of. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Fresco.
I was wondering if there was any news about the Civic Auditorium from last night?
There was no action.
No.
There was a discussion in closed session, but. there
No
was
report. Okay,
Nothing to report.
thank you.
Thought you might ask about that.
Commissioner Lambert.
Standing agenda item. Has the letter gone to HCD?
Talking about that too.
I knew you were going to ask that too.
Pardon?
The The letter is in its final form. We did want to wait until we did the second reading adoption last night to go ahead and send it off. So I will be doing it at the conclusion of this meeting, and we will make sure that it's
We all get
posted
copies?
online and on our Housing Element webpage, and then certainly share a copy.
Because, I think there are a lot of community organizations who'd be interested in seeing it, so I don't know, maybe they just go to the website or you send it to them. I don't know. Well, as you know, they've all weighed in on this.
Well, it sounds like it'll be on the website for sure, and then they'll send us a copy and we can distribute it if we need to.
Briefly?
Commissioner Landers?
Yeah, I just literally looked it up just now, and while the word consolidation appears 5 times in our approved housing element, there's no reference to any specific size of the lot consolidation. So just in case anybody's concerned about that. Yep.
The beauties of control find. Okay. Thank you for doing that. All right. Okay, so are we done with questions at this moment? So I'm going to move on to the next item would be public input on items that are not on our agenda tonight. Do we have any public speakers? Seeing none.
No, we do not.
Thank you very much. Next, we're going to move on to number 7, which is consent calendar items. Yes, sir?
Chair, I'd like to move item 11B onto the consent calendar.
Do I have a second?
Second. Boy,
Any
Sean.
discussion on this? I don't see any discussion, so can we get a roll call vote?
You know what, before we take up the item, I wanted to make an announcement, although there's not a member of the public present, but those who may be watching, regarding item 11A, there has been a request for the continuance based on a proposal to potentially redesign the project. And so we did want to make sure, in case anybody was here, and you do need to take a vote on that, which we just wanted to make sure that was clear. And we don't have a date certain, so we will be re-noticing and announcing that, or in the newspaper and circulating the notices.
Okay, well, we'll get that when we get to item 11, but my colleagues have tried to move 11B to the consent calendar. And unless you guys have an objection, we're about to vote on that.
You may, I mean, I think you could also just, in the alternative, waive a staff report. And we would need to just ensure that you don't have any members of the public who have submitted a chit. So that's another approach, but you could move it to the consent
there
calendar.
one?
Is there one?
And then they could speak on the consent calendar.
No, there are none.
Okay. Let's just vote.
Oh, okay. So this is a motion to move 11B to the consent calendar. Commissioner Fonda Bernardi?
Yes.
Commissioner Fresco?
Yes.
Commissioner Lambert?
Yes.
Commissioner Landris?
Yes.
Vice Chair Raskin?
Yes.
Commissioner Tolkien? Yes. Chair Reese?
Yes.
May I?
Yes, you may.
I'd like to move the consent calendar.
I'll second that.
Okay, we don't have anything on the consent calendar. We don't need to vote on that, do we?
Yeah.
Yeah, we just moved.
Oh, okay,
item
I'm sorry,
11B
I'm
to the
sorry.
consent calendar.
I thought we just voted on that. All right.
Sorry.
Sorry, no, don't be sorry. This is my mistake. Go ahead. Let's
Okay.
vote on that.
This is motion approving the consent calendar. Commissioner Fonda Bernardi?
Yes.
Commissioner Fresco?
Yes.
Commissioner Lambert?
Yes.
Commissioner Landris?
Yes.
Vice Chair Raskin?
Yes.
Commissioner Tolkien?
Yes.
Chairperson Reese?
Yes.
Shall I keep going?
Thank you, Sean.
I'm just going to go. We have nothing under 8, nothing under 9, going to 10, and that brings us to 11, where we have a continuance.
I move the continuance.
Second.
Okay. Commissioner Fonda Bernardi?
Yes.
Commissioner Fresco?
Yes.
Commissioner Lambert?
Yes.
Commissioner Landris?
Yes.
Vice Chair Raskin?
Yes.
Commissioner Tolkien?
Yes.
Chairperson Reese?
Yes. Thank you very much. Moving right along, we have nothing under 12, resolutions. Under 13, we have some written communications, which I hope everyone has reviewed. From Commissioner Lambert, we appreciate you sending us that stuff. 14, Planning Commission discussion items.
I know it says none, but can I talk anyway?
Well, I think this is where, yes, I think you can.
This would be
For
for
future-
future
for-
agenda
yes,
items at this
understand.
point, since nothing's on.
I understand. There are two items, actually. One is, I would really like a clear, and maybe you've already done this and I forget, a clear definition of when the builder's remedy is triggered, because I think it's being bandied about a lot, and I don't think anyone really understands what decertification means if it ever happens. It would be I think it would be great, I'm confused, and I'm pretty sure the city council's confused too, so I think it'd be really, even if it's just a staff memo, that would be worthwhile. The other item is some explanation in the future of what does a density bonus concession mean? Is it basically anything in the zoning code? And what do you have to do to prove you need it, if you do have to do that at all? If it's off our automatic list? What are the bases for giving concessions by waiving, for example, lot consolidation? I mean, I don't really know where that fits. I think because I think people are confused about that as well. I'd really appreciate it. And even if it's just in the form of a staff memo, that would be worthwhile. Thank you.
Okay, and then is this, yeah, I got one too. Go ahead.
Just really quickly, I heard at a conference yesterday that Los Angeles City Mayor Bass convened a regional luncheon with mayors of the West Side cities to talk about homelessness in particular and housing and to try to encourage coordination, which is great to hear. With the declarations in various jurisdictions, including, I believe, Santa Monica, of homelessness and housing emergency, it could be really helpful for us to understand at some point, maybe in the next few months, just what that potentially might mean for land use planning and anything we should be thinking about to support progress in that matter.
Okay. And then a couple items I'd like to get on our agenda is, one is the tree ordinance, and bring that to us, and my understanding that went pretty far along in the path and then kind of stopped moving forward. And so I would like to pick up that ball and move it forward. And if there were, hiccups in that ordinance, then try to work through those. So I'd like to add that, as well as do a little bit of have a study session on solar policy. Is it appropriate to be protecting solar panels? Is there state law that already does that out there and that we're just not focused on? But have a really robust conversation, because, we're in a point in our development where we're trying to turn to more electric, but we also need to densify, and we don't want projects blocking other people's solar, but we don't want that to be used as a impediment to development. So it's really kind of having a robust discussion about that. One thing that I'd hoped to do when I came here tonight was to bring some names of individuals who could come and speak to us on this. I've not gotten that done. But I would like to cast a net with my fellow commissioners on individuals as well as staff who might think that's appropriate.
I'll talk really fast. I just have just something to add to what Jim just said, and that is, I think, or maybe it's just me, I think we should start thinking about being proactive on solar access. There are no state or federal laws in any way guaranteeing or, encouraging solar access construction by adjacent buildings, and I don't think there's any reason we couldn't do it. So I would, if that's okay with you, kind of look at that as an angle of it too.
Well, that's part of my
Okay, cool.
thinking as well. Okay. I don't have anything else to add tonight. We're not done. We're not done.
19.
Okay. At this moment, we're at agenda item 15, and I would like to adjourn the meeting.
We did it. The previous record, I believe, was Leslie, 23 minutes.
No, 21.
21? That was me.